Hi guys, and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. In last week's news video, we speculated about a potentially new Nikon lens, the 600mm PF lens. And at that time, I certainly didn't expect that just over a week later now, I would have already had extensive experience with the lens in the field. But of course, I was more than happy when Nikon called and asked me to test out the lens and make a review for all of you guys prior to the launch. I'm sure most of you will have already seen the video and will know that I quite enjoyed the lens in the field because it's so fast, so light, and so sharp. What more could you possibly want in a prime lens? Reading through the comments about this lens on the internet, I know that a lot of you guys ask, did Nikon really need another telephoto lens? But my answer to that is, if the lens is that fast, that light, and that sharp, they did need another lens. This may actually very well be the lens that drags me over the line into getting some Nikon gear because it's so nice to use in the field, and I can definitely use it in places that I usually avoid because the big prime lens is just too big and attract too much attention. Whereas with this little lens, I can go anywhere basically without drawing any attention to myself. The other day, I went to the boardwalk near my house and got some amazing images simply because I was so much more flexible, could follow the birds much easier along, and whenever someone walked past me, I could kind of just hide the lens on the side of my body and no one even acknowledged the lens. Of course, I also enjoyed some of the images I got, like of these two spectacle monarchs that I had never seen in my area before that landed on the same perch, and with a bit of stopping down, I got both birds nice and sharp. Of course, there's already the excellent 180 to 600mm Nikon lens, but it's in a completely different class, and I find it hard to compare both of the lenses because if you intend to use both lenses mainly on the long end, then the 600mm PF lens will have clear advantages. When it comes to flexibility, the zoom has a clear edge, but when it comes to image quality wide open, autofocus speed, and image stabilization, the new 600mm PF lens has a clear advantage. But at the same time, it obviously comes at a lot more attractive price point, costing a lot less than a 600mm lens. The zoom lens is the perfect mainstream market lens with good performance and a great price point, whereas the 600mm PF lens is quite a niche product, but for that niche, it performs exceptionally well, being so light and small. In saying all that, of course, there is a lot of great lenses in the Nikon lens lineup, and there's definitely also some overlap, but I suppose it's better to be spoiled for options than not having enough options or just really expensive lenses, am I right? I think you would all agree that we're somehow never happy. I've been reading through a lot of comments over the internet about some new lenses, the new Canon lenses, the new Nikon lenses, and the consensus seems to be that Nikon shooters are a bit jealous of some of the Canon lenses, and especially their well-priced mid-level cameras that perform very well, and also wide-angle fast lenses like 1.4 lenses or a lens like a 2.800 to 300mm lens. And then of course, all of us Canon shooters say that we would love to have these great wildlife lens options that Nikon have. Kind of funny how the grass is somewhat always greener on the other side, isn't it? So looking at the current lineups, it's quite clear that Nikon has the best lenses by far for wildlife photographers, but they don't have mid-level cameras to match that just yet. This is where Canon is very strong. Hopefully over the course of the next year we will see some changes to that, because I'm very certain that Canon will launch a 200 to 800mm zoom lens soon that will hopefully not break the bank. And I'm also sure that over the course of the next year we will likely see some more Nikon cameras, like hopefully a mirrorless camera D500, a nice crop body, and also Z6 Mark III, a very capable sort of mid-level full frame camera. So if we get these things from both brands, I think that will level the playing field a little bit, doesn't it? For now, it certainly feels like that, at least for us wildlife photographers. Canon should definitely be listening and watching what Nikon is doing, because they have a pretty amazing lens lineup now. But I do think if the 200 to 800 comes out and performs well, that will definitely work in favor of Canon, because they already have the bodies like an R8 to match. And of course, Canon will hopefully also have the R5 Mark II and the R1 coming up, which should be very capable and probably put Canon even further ahead in the camera category. So that's definitely a space to watch. And if you want to learn how to get the absolute most out of your files, speed up your editing process, and get fantastic final results, I would love to help you with my Pro Sets and Masterclass. With my Pro Sets, I allow you with just one click to get amazing colors and a great starting point for the editing process, not only with Canon cameras, but also with all other brands like the Nikon Z8 that I used in this shoot. And in my masterclass, I teach you everything you need to know in Photoshop to get your images to that next level and make them look amazing. Like with this oyster catcher that had some sort of funny kind of uneven light on the bird. So I leveled up the bird, cropped the frame differently, added a bit of canvas and got to this final image that I really liked. So if you want to level up your editing game, make sure to check out my masterclass, pro sets and brand new brush pack that helps you with layer masking down there in the description. If you listened to my early bird photo news carefully last week, you will have already known that Canon was about to launch a new ultra wide angle lens, and a couple of days ago they actually did. They launched a new 10 to 20mm f4 LIS STM lens. Now for most people 10mm is probably too wide, but I think for a lot of people this is quite an attractive lens if you actually need to go much wider than the 14mm that Canon already had on offer. What's always interesting and the discussion point about these lenses, I would love to hear what you think about it, is that a lens like this has a lot of optical corrections kind of already calculated in, and you can only really use it with the calculations on in the camera that helps you to straighten up all the lines. So it's a lens that requires a lot of kind of digital editing in camera to get a perfect picture, and I wonder what you guys think about it. For me personally, I don't really care, I just want to get a nice final image in the end, so how the camera gets there doesn't matter, but I know there's a lot of purists that kind of find it annoying if the camera does a lot of calculations in the body already. In terms of pricing, I'm sure most of you will say it's a Canon lens, so it's gonna be expensive. And you're probably right on this one, but I think for such a specialized lens it makes sense to have a slightly higher price tag, and hopefully there will also be some more not too high price lenses coming up like that 200 to 800 hopefully soon. I've also gotten my R5 back from the repair. I haven't actually unpacked it yet. I was too busy making the new 600mm PF video. But in the repair note, it says that they replaced the main board because a component on there caused my camera to freeze constantly. So fingers crossed that that will actually fix the problem and that I will have no more issues going forward. Is that what Canon did to some of your cameras when you had a lot of constant freezing issues? I know a lot of you guys are very curious to see what I think about the new Nikon firmware 4.1 4Z9 that has now more bird eye tracking features. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm working with Nikon to see if I can get another camera body out there that will have that firmware installed so I can see what I think about it. Or maybe I'll do that when the firmware actually comes to the Z8 to see how that body performs with the new firmware. I'm definitely excited about seeing Nikon working constantly on improving the autofocus, because that's definitely the one area that in my opinion they're still kind of lacking behind Canon and Sony a little bit. So seeing them push that field to new heights as well is definitely encouraging to see. All the talk about the Nikon and Canon lenses kind of makes me wonder what Sony is thinking in kind of that wildlife element of their lens lineup. They always had fantastic lenses like the 200 to 600, the f2.8 400 and the f4 600, but they haven't done anything in that sort of area for a long time. They've been busy launching many amazing cameras, and I'm sure we will see another camera very soon, potentially even already in November, the A9 III, which should be an amazing camera with very high frame rates and great autofocusing. And later we might also see an A1 Mark II. But in that sort of wildlife lens sector, they really haven't done a lot. I know there will be a 2.8 300 coming at some stage, but I'm going as far as saying we haven't seen a lot of innovation in that sector. It seems like Canon and Nikon have been pushing a little bit further in that area. What do you guys think about the current Sony lens lineup? Is that something you would like to see improve? Maybe with another interesting zoom lens or some smaller lens like those Nikon 600mm PF lenses? Make sure to let me know in the comments. Also give me a thumbs up for the video. Check out my channel membership where for a small monthly contribution you can support me directly and get some cool membership perks. And hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye guys.